Hey everyone, welcome back to Make It Happen. My name is Dr. Brent Siebold with the Ira A. Fulton Schools of Engineering, Entrepreneurship and Innovation, as well as a very proud liaison to our J. Orrin Edson Entrepreneurship and Innovation Institute here at Arizona State University. I'm joined today by one of my longstanding colleagues in the domain of entrepreneurship and innovation, and really more largely, someone who knows how to make things happen within her own career, within the lives of many students whom she's touched over the years as an innovator, as an educator. So I'm really proud to welcome my friend and my colleague, Kim Reynolds, to the party here today, this Friday afternoon. So Kim, thanks so much for joining. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Brent. I appreciate the opportunity.
Very cool. So I know you've prepared some great remarks for everybody to think about today and to hopefully act upon to make their lives and their careers hopefully more impactful, and whatever they might be working on in the lab or the garage or anywhere else. Hopefully these takeaways will apply. So without further ado, are you ready to kick us off?
Yep, I am ready to, and I do apologize if you hear my 4-year-old granddaughter in the background. I'm trying to get her. She just got a package from Australia, so she's very excited.
Big deal. Yeah, no.
Okay.
Looks great.
Okay, now let me just find my Zoom panel. So there we go. And make sure I've got chat so I can see everything that everybody is saying and doing. And we're ready to go. So welcome to Moving Out of Your Lane. Before we get started, I'd like to ask your opinion on something. So if you could just please put your answer in chat. What percentage of STEM graduates do you think work in STEM fields? Is it A, 90%? B, 75%, C, 50%, or D, 25%? Seeing a lot of B's and C's.
That's what I'm seeing too, Kim.
A's, a couple of D's. Well, those of you who guessed D are correct. So here's a surprising fact. Only 25% of those with a degree in STEM work in STEM related majors, or excuse me, STEM related fields. So if we look at this graphic, the colored lines show you just how a few of those STEM majors are integrated into STEM occupation. But if we look at the gray lines, we can see that there's a lot more people in STEM majors who are working outside of STEM. Now, one of the things I do want to note is that education is considered a non-STEM field, even if you're teaching STEM courses. So it skews it a little bit, but it's not a very big chunk. So there's still, you know, probably maybe 30, 35% that are doing something related to STEM. So STEM fields may have the biggest wow factor regarding degree versus employment, but the way we work now is different from how we worked 10 years ago. It's completely unrecognizable if we look back 100 years. So what does the future hold? Let's take a look at what futurist Gerd Leninhard has to say about the future. Real quick, can everybody hear the sound on that? Okay.
Once upon a time, business as usual was often good enough. No more. Where we are going, good enough is dead. In a world where everything is connected, where everything is equally excellent, Where performance is reaching perfection, there's only one space left to innovate in: you. Right now, you are a central point in the raging tornado of change fueled by digitization, mobilization, augmentation, disintermediation, automation. Well, the list goes on. Science fiction is becoming science fact. Think about self-driving cars or computers that can learn and think. The way we work will never be the same. The skills we need will be dramatically different. Winning or losing are now happening faster than ever before. So what's your response? How will you discover new opportunities in one of the most transformational times in human history? Are you driving change, or are you being driven by it? Disruption has become the new normal. With change, it's always gradually, then suddenly, well, things really have stopped happening gradually. This change is exponential. Everything that used to be dumb and disconnected is now wired and intelligent. Cars, cities, ports, farms, even our bodies will be wired with sensors and will talk to each other. These game changers are also combinatorial. They amplify each other, creating a perfect storm of change. Quantum computing fuels big data. The Internet of Things fuels artificial intelligence and deep learning, which fuels robotics. However, anything that cannot be digitized or automated will become extremely valuable. Human-only traits such as creativity, imagination, intuition, emotion, and ethics will be even more important in the future, because machines are very good at simulating, but not at being. Yes, robots and software will do some of our work, but this will allow us to focus on things that cannot be automated. To imagine change squared, you've got to start engaging more with what might be, not just with what is. Immerse yourself in the immediate future, 5 to 7 years out from today. We need to go beyond technology and data to reach human insights and wisdom. Technology represents the how of change, but humans represent the why. The future is about holistic business model. The opportunity is to be liquid, to learn just in time, not just in case, not single improvements, but complete transformations, not individual systems, but new ecosystems. Humanity is where true and lasting value is created. We will engage, relate, and buy things because of the experiences they provide, because of their transformative power. The future doesn't just happen, the future gets happened. The new way to work is to embrace technology, but not to become it. The future is in technology, yet the bigger future lies in transcending it. Let's live and lead from here.
So I don't know what a presentation today would be without adding a little dubstep in it, right? So the world is changing. The question is, are you ready to change with it? So all of this information is not intended to scare or discourage you. It's only meant to make you more aware and help you understand why you might need to move out of your lane in the future. So we've already talked about the future of STEM, so I'll tell you a little bit about me and why I was asked to speak on this subject. Then we'll talk a little bit about how you change lanes and then answer any questions that you have. Does that sound good for everybody? Okay. Not seeing any negatives, so I'll just keep moving on. So my name is Kim Reynolds, and I'm currently a program manager over curriculum and instruction on the Youth Entrepreneurship team within the J. Orrin Edson Entrepreneurship and Innovation Institute. I've been a member of the Edson E&I team for 3.5 years, working with other youth entrepreneurship team members to implement the Verizon Innovative Learning Program. But you know, before I joined ASU, I was a lot of things. My professional career has been a constant exercise in moving out of my lane. If you look at the wide range of jobs and careers I have had, you'll notice there's no real natural progression. But I learned at a very early age how to take what I learned in one job and move it into another career field. And if I were to explain this to you, these changes do make sense and build on each other. So I really only had one job that I had completed any specific post-secondary education for before I started that job. Most of my specialized jobs, like stockbroker, drone pilot, I got my certification or completed career-specific post-secondary education after I started the role. The rest of my jobs came from just reworking my resume and showing how the skills, certification, and education gained through prior positions made me a fit for a new role. So many decades ago, actually, in fact, it was a whole other century, I had extensive training in computers and customer service from my airline job. When I found a job posting in the newspaper, those are those paper things, they've got words on them. I found a position for a quoter with Charles Schwab. They were looking for computer and customer service skills. Those were the two major requirements. Well, I knew DATIS 2, which is an airline computer system, and I knew Q&A, which was the data entry system that I had used, but I knew nothing about Legacy, which was the computer system used by brokerage industries at the time. I also knew how to deal with angry passengers, book air travel, and deal with overbooked flights, but I knew nothing about dealing with brokerage clients. One thing I did know is that if I could learn a computer system for airline reservations, I could learn a brokerage computer system. And if I could learn to tell a passenger, sorry, no more seats, I could learn to tell a brokerage client, sorry, no more quotes. In the dark ages before Yahoo Finance and online trading, quotes were a precious commodity and clients had a limited number they could get. So having to tell them, no, you can't have any more quotes was a common practice. So I really figured out how to show that my airline specific skills were transferable to the brokerage industry, and I got the job. Within 6 months, I moved from a quoter to a customer service representative. Then I passed my Series 7 exam. And at that time, I was actually the youngest Schwab employee ever to pass the Series 7 exam, all from working in the airline industry. So now you know all about me and my crazy career trajectory. Let's take a few minutes and learn a little bit about you. So in the chat window, please tell me your name, your major or industry that you're in, and one thing that you hope to learn today. Brent, this is where we should have like cheesy music.
Well, I am cheesy, and I do have a lot of music, but I am not prepared at the present moment to help you out on that front.
Just need some more dubstep. Okay,
Yeah,
so
the dubstep was great, and I liked in chat that a few folks were emotionally moved by that video because it is very jarring.
It is.
It's not surprising. I think a lot of folks or a lot of students are aware that these meta changes are happening societally and technologically. But when contextualized in the way that was presented in that video, it is rather jarring. So kudos.
It really is, but I do like the focus that it's on that what makes it unique and what makes us so valuable is our human traits. And that's really what we're going to be talking about today is those human things and how you adjust and move through. So I see we've got some business admin, engineering management, biology, mechanical engineering, marketing management, electrical engineering, communication, computer science, neurobiology. We've got a very broad audience here. Let's see here. So it looks like a lot of you are saying that you want to learn how to apply your skills outside of your major, transfer skills elsewhere, make the skills I have currently more transferable, learn how to branch out to other professions, switch from one field to another when needed, successfully know other fields where I can work, different view about my career. some great things that you guys want to learn, and I really hope that we will answer all of your questions today. So thank you for telling me a little bit more about you, and let's move on. So when I was a classroom teacher in high school, I taught business and was an FBLA advisor. So I worked with students a lot on career planning, resumes, interviewing skills. The one thing I always tried to teach my students was not to get stuck on a title. Titles and even degrees, to a certain extent, can actually limit you when you allow those titles or degrees to define who you are. For 15 years, I was a stockbroker, and I was stuck in that lane, and I could not get myself out of it. I successfully changed lanes to move into that role, but I had invested so much time and energy, training. I had multiple certifications and accreditations at that point, and all I saw myself was as a stockbroker. And when you get so focused on that title, it makes it so that you can't see. It's like having blinders on. You can't see anything outside of what you're doing, and you see no potential for moving forward. But then 9/11 happened, and our industry had a huge recession, and almost everybody I knew was laid off, and I had to take off those blinders and start looking around. And then as I started moving forward, then I started realizing almost every job I've ever had and been hired for were jobs that I wasn't fully qualified for at the time of hiring. But what I had been good at prior to being a stockbroker was assessing my skills and figuring out how to apply them to new roles, and then discovering what I needed to quickly learn to fill in any gaps, and then be able to tell my story in a convincing manner. And that helped me to recover from the recession after when, like I said, all of my friends were let go in the brokerage industry. So really the first thing that you need to do is review your skills. Think about what skills and abilities are specific to your major or career. What is the base of those skills? And really, what does that mean in layman's terms? And I'm actually going to ask you guys to share this. So I have set up a Padlet, which is a virtual wall where you can share. And let me see if I can. That's not what I want to do. I want to put that link, you know. Let me do this. I just put that in chat. I'm going to stop sharing that because we're going to go over here to Padlet. And I really want you to answer, what is your strongest major or career-specific skill or ability? And if you have the ability to put it into layman's terms, please do that. Nope, I just shared that link only with Gabby. Let's share it with everybody.
Yeah, I'm glad Gabby gets to participate in today's event and no one else. So
you know, she was sending me little, you got this, go Kim. And so it automatically makes it so I share with her.
Okay, I think we have it.
Let's see here. So we are seeing creativity and problem solving. Okay, somebody's been thinking about this, problem solving. Curiosity. Believe it or not, that is a skill that's hard to find these days. So many people are stuck on what is and don't question what could be. A drive to learn. Customer service, self-awareness. Computer programming and debugging. So whoever put that up, really what is at the basis of computer programming? When you really think about what computer programming is, what is it?
For instance,
Did I hear Dan trying to chime in with an answer?
No, I was asking, like, give a for instance, when you ask that sort of a question, like, what are you trying
Okay.
to get at? It's a little bit too open-ended for someone to,
Okay, so
to
in computer programming, because I actually taught computer programming in high school, and the one thing I always, there we go, they're answering it right now. Computer programming is really about problem solving. You have a problem, you have to figure out how to make it happen and break it down into the steps. Once you've figured out what steps, now you've got to translate it from human thinking and human language into computer language. And it really is about that problem solving and being able to break things down step by step. And that's what I'm asking. When you think about it, people like computer programming, for example, oh, I'm skilled in computer programming. But what is it that you really do? Marketing. Yeah. Oh, I create sales plans or marketing plans. What does that really mean? Break it down into the basic components of it. So marketing would be doing some user research and finding out what do users want, what really appeals to them. It is communication skills, being able to take the expectations of the client and deliver a message to the customer that then causes the customer to meet the expectations of the clients through purchasing. Let's see here. Yeah, in marketing, you even said creativity and problem solving. So that's really what we're talking about, is think about, it could be soft skills too, Jennifer. But right now, I'm really thinking about those hard skills, those things that people think, I'm a computer programmer and I'm only a computer programmer. I am a marketing person. I'm only a marketing person. I'm a teacher, so I teach. Think about what's at the basic. So like for teaching, for example, teaching is presentation skills. Teaching is being able to translate information from complex ideas into easily digestible content. It's problem solving, it's creative thinking, it's so many other things beyond just teaching. And so I'm gonna give about 30 more seconds if anybody else wants to throw anything up here on the board. I'm seeing can manage multiple projects. Curious to know what skill that, or what major or industry that came from, and what the original jargon was. Critical thinking, passion, customer service, engineering. Yep, engineering. So now if you're in engineering, project management comes out of that. So let's stop that and go back into, let's find my presentation again. There we go. So thank you for participating in talking about your strongest major or career specific career skill or ability was. A lot of people don't take the time to just stop and think about, what does this really mean to everybody else? So once you've broken down your specific skills into something that's a little bit more digestible for the general public, now it's time to look for crossovers, and there are several ways you can do it. The two most common is, number one, you found a job that you're interested in, but it's not in your lane. So take a look at the job requirements. What skills or abilities do you have that are similar to those skills or ability, or that lend themselves to being successful in the skills or abilities required? So maybe, for example, project management, you don't have a project management professional, but you do know how to break problems down, or break challenges down into small steps and organize it and get things done in a timely and organized fashion. That may not be exactly the skill they're looking for, but it lends itself to it. One of the things on your resume is make sure you never lie. About 40% of people lie on their resumes, so you don't ever want to do that, because they're checking more and more now. but do find those connections that allow existing skills to fit the required skills and be a little creative. The other way that you can look for crossover is you've been displaced. Maybe your job has been replaced by AI, or in my case with being a stockbroker, there's a tragic event that causes an economic collapse and they let off most of the industry. So sometimes you're just trying to find something different or just trying to find a job to pay the bills. So take a look at the base components of your skills. So like for computer programming, for example, problem solving. And then start doing job searches using those common language descriptions. So if you go and you put in, oh, I can do computer programming, that's jargon and that's going to pull up industry specific jobs. But if you put in problem solving, that's going to open a much wider door and going to return much greater result, or far greater results for you. And that's really why doing what we did before this, of breaking down your skills into the base components, what is the real nuts and bolts of what you can do, is so important. And why it's important to learn how to redefine them without jargon. So some of the industry related skills that I have that I've rebranded: lesson planning is strategic planning. Teaching is presentation skills. Differentiation skills is the ability to make content understandable by the majority of people. Financial planning is goal setting. Sales skills is the ability to define and meet needs of the end user. Pig wrestling is negotiation skills. Tractor operator, strong spatial reasoning skills. Dog training skills, behavior modification. And by the way, if you ever want to know how to teach, raise kids, be a dog trainer first. It applies across everything. My archery skills were a strong ability to focus on a goal. No lying, no, it's just taking what I knew how to do and putting it in language that makes sense to other people. So after you've broken down your skills, you've started looking for either how do my skills apply to this job I want, or how do these skills apply to jobs that I could potentially have. Sometimes you're going to have more proof than just the resume and a list of skills and abilities. So as a teacher, and now when we work with students in the Verizon Innovative Learning programs, I encourage students to create e-portfolios. It's a great way to keep a master copy of your complete resume, basic cover letter, sample of professional writing, copies of certifications and licenses, test scores that might be relevant to jobs that you're applying for, photos of projects, links to work you've done in other places, documents, just really anything that shows an example of what you've done. Not only is this a good way to record your hard skills and experiences, but soft skills as well. So when most people on their resume, they'll put things like collaboration and leadership on the resume, but in the interview, they'll be asked for an example and they can't think of anything. So when you're creating an e-portfolio, document times that you collaborated. It could be a picture, a selfie in front of a whiteboard with you and then the people that you're working with. And then maybe make a little note that goes with it. This is what we were looking on. This was our challenge. This was the outcome. So it helps you to remember. Or maybe it could be a link to a Trello board that you've been working with the group on. Maybe just a journal entry of key facts that you review before you go into an interview. So all of the sites that I've listed above allow you to create and gather and organize and store content. There really is no perfect way to create a digital portfolio. You just want to make sure that it is neat and clean and doesn't look like your 6th grade backpack. So make sure you include descriptions for items that need explaining. Include captions or descriptions for photos, and make sure the photos are in context so it's not just a whole bunch of pictures out there that, you know, things that are related are together. And really anywhere that you can store important documents that is easily accessible organizable, and that you can provide a link to a potential employer, can be used for any portfolio. Even Google Drive is a really good example with my students. One thing that every student I had, whether they were in my business classes, my computer classes, public speaking, they had to create a resume and put it into Google Drive. And I worked in a inner city school, and kids are a lot of grumbling. And I don't know if anybody is here has ever heard of Chef Silvana. Cafe Barrio is one of her restaurants. And another teacher had taken, because our school was near Grand Avenue, and so another teacher had taken the students on the field trip, and one of the things they went to is her little restaurant that it was over on Grand Avenue. And she was talking to the kids. She got up, she jumped on the table and dancing around, and she said, "And I'm hiring. If any of you can give me a copy of your resume right now, you're hired." And one of my students pulls out his phone, goes to his Google Drive, walks up to her and hands her his resume. And he was hired on the spot. And it was a great opportunity for him. He worked for her for many years. She moved him from a dishwasher up through the ranks. He was managing the pantry. And he learned so much and grew so much through that. But it was because he had an e-portfolio with at least his resume in it that he could hand to somebody when they said, "If you've got a resume right now, I'll hire you on the spot." So after you've looked at all the crossovers and can support how your experience applies into a new setting, it's really time to identify those things that you need to have that you don't. Things like specialized licensing or certifications. Think about, how are they obtained? Can you self-study for them? Do you need an industry sponsor? So like, for example, in the brokerage industry, you have to have a member firm that will sponsor you to take your Series 7 exam. What are the costs? And then think about, is it really worth the investment of time and money to get these certifications and licenses? So when I was working at Schwab, which I mentioned a little bit before, as a quoter and even as a customer service agent, we were only temp employees. And the only way at the time to be a permanent employee was to have your Series 7. So I started asking some questions, and at the time it was you had to study on your own, and you had to pay for your own books. They were about $150. Or you had to pay to take a crash course, which was like a couple of $1,000s. So I was working full-time, had a 2-year-old and a newborn. My husband worked in the airline industry. So time and money were very, very tight for us. So self-study was my only option. So I'd work all day, come home, feed the family, then sit down and read my books to my kids. And in less than 2 months, I was able to take the exam, and Schwab sponsored me and covered my testing fee. And, but I had one shot, but I passed it. And lasting legacy of that, my oldest son actually went on to major in economics at ASU. So I think he must have picked up something from all the reading that I did with him. But really, I looked at and said, okay, I'm here. At that time I was customer service, and I want to be a stockbroker. It was like, I want a permanent job. What do I have to have the permanent job, and how do I make it happen? So I did. So once you've identified and rebranded your core skills, gathered examples, filled in any gaps, now you have to sell yourself. Really, you're helping the potential employer understand why you're leaving your major or field. How are the skills you used over there applicable over here? What did you do to fill in those gaps? How did you go about making yourself more marketable? And then really, why should they consider you over someone else who has experience in this field? So a colleague of mine said that your lane change can sometimes be your X factor when you're applying for jobs. That one thing that makes your resume come to the attention of a recruiter or a hiring manager. Like if there's a position for a computer teacher, all the applicants meet the minimum requirements of a valid teaching certificate and a fingerprint clearance card. 12 applicants have bachelor's and master's in education along with years of experience in teaching. And 1 applicant has 15 years in the investment industry, multiple finance licenses and credentials, and years of volunteer service as a scout leader. Which one of those resumes is going to stand out and make the hiring manager say, I really wonder what this person has to offer? The X factor does work, and that's actually what got me in the door with my interview with Schwab for my first teaching position and even my first role at ASU. And they looked at my resume like, huh, I wonder how this applies. They wanted to talk to me just to see if they could figure that out. And then once I got in there, my message is what got me the job. So as a good teacher, now it's your turn. So imagine yourself seeking a role as an underwater basket weaving instructor. You're going to create a 60-second elevator pitch explaining how your existing skills or abilities transfer to the new role. So you can do this now or you can do it later. If you scan that QR code or go to the Flipgrid, and I'll put that in chat in just a minute, you can record it there. Or if we have any brave souls, you can do your pitch in front of the group. Do we have anyone who's willing to share?
Don't call on me. I'm not ready. But that's a great tee up, Kim. I recognize many students from my course, my FSC 301 ENT 360 course. So I'm very happy to call on people.
So you could volunteer, or Dr. Siebel is going to call on you.
We'll let them off the hook for a Friday afternoon. But Kim, those Padlet boards are a lot of fun. Do you have a separate link that you're willing to put into chat for folks to?
That's for the Flipgrid if they want to record.
Yes.
Jennifer's ill, so she can't do it. So I just have a couple more slides then, since nobody wants to volunteer. Brent, you told me everybody in this group was brave.
Oh, did I say that?
You did. So let's go back to this then. So, but if you do want to practice the Flipgrid, you can put it there. You have to have the link to get on it. I'm not going to go and watch them unless you say, hey, can you go and watch this and give me ideas? But it is a fun way to practice that ability to take your skills. And in this case, this is no risk. It's fun. It's underwater basket weaving. So you can't be hired if you don't apply. Fear of rejection, especially when you're trying to move out of your lane, is very real. But let me ask you this. If you apply and don't get the job, are you any worse off than you are now? Maybe you could learn something new about yourself or your skill set through the application and interview process. Or even better, what if you get the job? Or maybe you don't get that job, but you interview with someone who knows about another role that you would be perfect for. That's actually how I got into ASU Edson's E&I Youth Entrepreneurship Team. I didn't get the first job I applied for, but they called and asked me to apply for the next one. You know, it's funny, when I started looking at the Youth Entrepreneurship Team, I realized that our team is really made up of people who moved out of their lanes. Our team is comprised of teachers, artists, musicians, computer programmers, engineers, and journalists. And they all took their existing career-specific skills and found a way to make them fit into the required skills to join our team. And over the years, between my own experiences with teaching and talking with friends and family members, what I have found is that the hardest thing for people to finally move out of their lane, they're just waiting for someone to give them permission. So here it is. This is your permission. Do not let a title, a major, a certification, a license, or a label keep you in your lane. If you look ahead and see a roadblock, maybe traffic's moving too fast or too slow, or maybe you just don't like the scenery anymore. Move out of your lane. It's okay. Heck, become an entrepreneur. Make your own lane. Then you don't even have to use your blinker. Any questions?
Wow, way to drop the mic with the at the end there. That was fantastic. Thank you so much, Kim. Really appreciate that. We are now inspired to change lanes without a blinker, which is dangerous, by the way. But really,
Or make your own lane.
make sorry, yes, make your own lane. No need to use a blinker. Love it. Thank you for inspiring us to make it happen.
I hope to hear about everybody making it happen. And I'm putting